Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have something that is absolutely insanely epic as we have the newest release from Titanic Creations. We just recently went over their incredible Polgazeri figures, and if you have not seen that review, I highly recommend checking it out. It's one of the best kaiju sets I've ever had the pleasure of getting my hands on. And we now have another one again. Yongary is officially released, and this as well looks to be one of the best kaiju sets that I've ever had the pleasure of getting my hands on. This thing looks incredible and such an obscure kaiju. If you're unfamiliar with who Yongary is, he's actually a reptilian giant monster from a 1967 kaiju film that was actually created in Korea. And that kind of is one of the many reasons why Yongary is so special. But it's a film that I grew up watching as a kid. I was always such a big fan of it because it was kind of goofy, but at the same time had that feel of, you know, kaiju films from that era. So it really was a really cool movie, and it still is by today's standards. I watch it actually quite often. But you can see this set is loaded with stuff. Tons of extras in here. We also have really nice box art, as always, when it comes to Titanic Creations. We can see here on the side, you've got like a helicopter, and then you've got some more stuff down here, some buildings and everything. And then if you turn it around and take a look at the back, we've got a massive shot of Yongary over here, looking again incredible, and the box is huge. Honestly, I feel like words don't do this box justice, and that right there is such an incredible shot and incredible artwork. Even if you for some reason didn't want to keep the box anymore, which I can't see anybody not wanting to keep this box, but if for some reason you wanted to throw the box out, you definitely have to cut this off and keep it, because that is incredible looking and would be the perfect kind of backdrop for your display of your Yongary figure. But I'm really excited about this, so I'm going to go ahead, pop it out of the box, and bring everything in right now. And here we go. We have everything out of the packaging, and honestly, is anybody doing better right now than Titanic Creations when it comes to kaiju sets? I really don't think so, and that's a pretty incredible statement, especially when you have companies like SH Monster Arts and Hiya Toys and stuff out there producing some of the coolest figures in existence. But when it comes to actually creating a release that is so worth the money and really crammed with so much stuff, again, Titanic Creations, in my opinion, is doing it better than anybody else right now, because look at how much stuff you get with this Yongary figure. That is crazy. You've got some very cool oil tanks. You also have a destructible bridge, which we clearly haven't assembled quite yet. You've got some helicopters. Well, you've got a helicopter. You have jets as well as tanks. You've also got a different horn to put on the nose, so you can switch it out for one that doesn't have that kind of laser coming off of it. You've got a little area here of the road that I think you attach the jets and stuff to, if I'm not mistaken, with these little wires that we have over here. As well as, and I apologize if I mispronounce it, but the Sungneum gate back there. I don't know exactly if I said that correctly, because, you know, I don't know a whole lot about it, but I know it is a very popular tourist attraction in South Korea, I believe. So obviously that is an incredible addition to this set. So overall, as I've already mentioned, this thing is overloaded with awesomeness. But of course, the thing we want to take a look at first would be Yongary. And Yongary, of course, not only has actually appeared in the original 1967 film. Why is my camera not focusing on you? Why, oh why? There we go. But actually there was another, like a kind of a sequel, but it was pretty bad, called Gargantuan, that came years later in the 90s. I think also features Yongary, but I think they call it Yongary. I forget exactly. It has been so long since I've seen that sequel. I did watch it at one point, but it's not really something that I highly recommend searching out. But you can see, again, the sculpt of this one is fantastic, and I think I'm going to have to move everything back here behind my figure here, because it seems like it's trying to focus on everything but Yongary. So maybe with that stuff out of the way, that'll make a difference. There we go. We can see the head sculpt looks great. The skin texture as well looks great, perfectly replicating the look and feel of Yongary from the film. And on top of that, the paintwork is really nicely done. We have a very dark tone of like a green for the primary body color of the figure, and I think that looks really nice. We also have a brown that moves along the plates here, leading down along the back. The almost slightly Godzilla-like plates that we have moving along the back of our Yongary. One thing I really love is the paintwork of the eye. Look at how nicely painted that eye is with a yellow, and then there's a brown, and then a black, and then even a white spot to kind of give it a little bit of eye shine. So that looks really nice. On top of that, you can see we've got some atomic breath here for our Yongary, which looks really, really good. The way that they've actually created this with a nice translucent material honestly makes it look like fire so perfectly, which is exactly what you would want when it comes to the atomic breath of a Yongary. There's like this really cool, again, like yellowish look, but at the same time there's elements of orange and everything throughout, which perfectly replicates, in my opinion, as best as you're going to get anyway, the kind of look and feel of fire. As far as this atomic breath goes, that is fantastic. And even the detailing of that, which you can see, is really well done, kind of giving you the look of flames and everything. That's super nice. I think we can pull that out, though, if we want to. Yes, absolutely. Actually, it gets turns into a reddish tone as you get closer back into the throat of Yongary. But this will give us a chance to really check out the articulation. So obviously we have an articulated jaw. We can also see the head moving, which can go left and right and up and down. So that's really, really nice as far as the ability to pose and display the head of Yongary. We can also see the teeth sculpted out on the figure, these large sort of almost tusks that Yongary has as well. They have that kind of genuine sharp look to them, which is nice, definitely helping to add some realism. They're painted with like an off-white, and they also have a gloss coat on the teeth and on the inside of the mouth, which we can see the tongue in there, painted with a pinkish tone, and of course the area where we have like that almost flamethrower that comes from the mouth of Yongary, and of course also where we would add our atomic breath. On top of that, as you can very clearly see, we have that very strange laser beam that comes from the horn of Yongary, which actually comes out to a really fine point, so fine my camera doesn't even want to pick up on it. It's also a translucent look, just like we saw on the atomic breath, which is really neat, and as you move back you can see the horn itself is very nicely sculpted and painted. But what is cool, as I've already mentioned, is you can remove that horn and then apply a different horn so that your Yongary now has just the standard look without any of that going on. So again, basically giving you any way you want to display your Yongary figure, you can do it with this set. And obviously we can see the head and everything over here looks great, just like it did on the first side. Zero sloppiness as far as the paintwork, and again, really, really nice, really smooth articulation. Straight out of the package, the articulation of Titanic Creations all the time is just so impressive to me. As we lead down here through the underside of the throat, we can see almost like a scoot-like look moving down through the throat. We also have a brownish tone that follows along down here on the underside of Yongary. We do have more articulation as you move down here into the neck. You can turn the neck a little bit, which you can see, and there we go. We can also wiggle it a little bit up and down. There's not a whole lot of range of movement for that spot, basically because of the shape of the body, but you do have a little bit of extra articulation, allowing some nice posability for your Yongary. But as you move down along the back of the body, you can see again some larger kind of scoot-like scales, basically like really big, almost slightly armored kind of looking scales following along the back, and that pretty much overtakes a large portion of the body of Yongary as far as the style of skin texture for the figure. As you lead down, we can see the arm also has kind of some of that skin texture going on down here, leading all the way down into the hands. We can see the fingers sculpted very nicely, even the knuckles sculpted, and you can see the nails are painted with a light tone, and they as well, just like the teeth, have a nice genuine sharp look to them. As far as the arm articulation goes, you can go up and down. You could probably keep, yeah, absolutely, you could swivel it all the way around if you choose to. You can also come out away from the body, which we can see. Again, very nicely out away from the body. Then we also have elbow articulation, forward and back. and can swivel potentially. Yep, absolutely can swivel. And then we also have wrist articulation, which is basically on like a little ball joint, allowing you to move that wrist pretty much anywhere you want, which is really, really cool. So very nice articulation in the arms. We also have, as you can see moving down, some midsection articulation right here, which can get, I'm sure I could probably keep that going. I don't want to force it, but I could probably turn it all the way around. It really does feel like you can. You can also go forward and back a little bit, which you can see, but mostly it's left and right in that area. As you continue to move down, you see the detailing in the plates looks excellent. This is sculpted by the one and only Dope Pope, the greatest kaiju sculptor, in my opinion, alive currently, and we can see that he always includes so much impressive detail on his sculpts. We have like kind of like cracks and crevices, almost like damage to the plates here moving along the back of Yongary, which is really, really fun, really cool. Again, very tiny attention to detail that I would expect no less from Dope Pope. As we lead down into the legs, we again still have that kind of larger scaling. As we lead down, it does definitely become a lot finer, but still impressive the entire way through. And then we also, of course, have articulation in the legs, which can go forward and back. And again, could probably swivel all the way around if I tried. It also can move out away from the body a little bit. And we have knee articulation forward and back, can swivel, and then ankle articulation forward and back, and can swivel. So again, pretty much all of the articulation you would expect to find on a super articulated kaiju. And then you lead down into the foot sculpt, we can see the toes as well as the nails. And again, the nails have a bit of a gloss coat. And I like that they've added even variation of color to the nails. You can see a little variation of brown as you get closer to the toes, and then transitions out to a nice light tone, which is very well done. And then you lead out into the tail, and we continue to pretty much have the same style of skin texture through the rest of the body leading out. Again, that very almost armored sort of style of skin texture. Like I could just imagine it being very rough and rugged if we were actually able to somehow touch a living Yongary. But as you lead out, again, you've got a ton of articulated joints through the tail, which is crazy impressive, and that allows you to have some of the nicest articulation in the tail of any kaiju figure I think I've ever seen. And obviously we can basically pose the tail wherever you want, however you want. You continue to have these spines or plates or however you'd like to term them following along the back of the tail, very, again, Godzilla-like, but they become a lot smaller as you lead down into the tail. And then as you move out here to the end of the tail, you actually have 4 spikes out here, kind of thagomizers out here at the end of the tail of Yongary, which kind of gives this entire thing almost the look and feel of a little bit of a stegosaurus. As you've got these spikes at the end of the tail, you also kind of have plates moving along the back, and then you have, again, that brown tone with that scoot-like sort of detailing moving along the underbelly of Yongary. So Yongary as a whole is absolutely one of the nicest kaiju figures that I have now in my collection. Again, Titanic Creations absolutely knocking it out of the park in a big way with this figure. And at this point, if there's anybody else out there considering the idea of making a Yongary, especially if it's an articulated version, I don't even see the point, because it's never going to get better than this. This thing is absolutely phenomenal. It also actually has some pretty nice weight to it, which is impressive. There are these little wires included, basically, which my camera is definitely not going to focus. Oh, there we go. I was wrong. That you would apply to the undersides of the jets and stuff. And you basically put this in here, and then the jet now is balanced out on it. There, you can see that. And then I think they would apply to the road, so you can see these little spots here on the road that you would just slide this into, and then you can basically bend the wire to display the jet however you would like. As far as the road goes as well, you can see it looks really, really nice, kind of reminiscent to the road and the piece that we had in the recent Pulgazeri, but obviously very different as far as the coloration and even the style of the way that the road is created. But as far as the jets go, you can see the jets are pretty nicely sculpted. There's of course not a whole lot when it comes to fine detail, but there is some paintwork. As we can see, we've got a little variation of color to the figure, and then of course you actually get 3 of those, which you can see, 3 jets, which is really awesome. On top of that, you get a helicopter, which again, these aren't going to be the crazy, most impressive, highly detailed figures of these that you're going to find. They're just super fun little extras to help you create dioramas for your Yongary. And then you also have 3 tanks, and again, you can see even like a star applied to that. So also it's painted in a green, and the detailing on this is actually pretty decent. So again, pretty much anything and everything that you could possibly want to create a diorama for Yongary is present in this, and we can see the other 2 tanks. And then we've got the oil tanks, and we can see those as well look great. They have a very nice sort of like a silver or a chrome look to them, which is pretty cool. Pretty nicely detailed as well. And something I did notice that is really neat about these, you can open them and actually go inside. So they're kind of destructible in a way, but also it's a nice way that you can actually store some of this stuff if you really wanted to, if you didn't want to put it back in the packaging. And you do actually have 3 of those as well. Again, they absolutely make sure that you have everything that you could possibly want when it comes to this release. And also, the Tsuneimen Gate, and you can see that as well, is gorgeous. Honestly, this might be one of the most impressive sections of this set, because look at how great of a job they've done, even on the texturing. And I know my camera is going to freak when the green here gets close, because for some reason it absolutely hates green. And you can see again that even in that area there's like a slight bit of variation of color, it looks like, potentially. And overall there's a lot that's been put into this to make sure it looks as lifelike and realistic as possible. When you get close and you really take it all in, like even looking at the stairs, the texturing, come on camera, focus. The texturing of the stairs is so impressive, leading the entire way up. And then once you actually get up here again, it continues to look mind-blowing. It's so nicely done. And there's just no shortage of effort that has gone into this, whether it be the actual sculpting or even the painting aspect. They've made sure to capture everything on this as nice and high quality as possible. And that really impresses me, because again, this is something that they didn't need to put so much effort into. Like, this could have just been one solid color and it would have still been a really cool addition to this set. But it's not. It's very much so fully painted and looks absolutely incredible. Even when you get here close to the top of the roof, you can see again the fine detail, the texturing, and everything is so impressive on this. And I did notice it looks like it comes apart. So as you can see, you can actually pull that off if you want to kind of destroy this as well, which is a really cool touch, a really cool addition to this set overall. But that is an absolutely incredible extra. Definitely something that I did not expect when they first announced this, but man, it is so cool to have that. And the final piece of the puzzle is the destructible bridge that we have here. So as you can see, when it comes to the actual upper part of the bridge, it's very well done. It also has, again, that silver sort of a look to it, which is going to wreak havoc apparently on my camera as well. And then when you look through the inside, again, very nicely detailed throughout. Definitely a really cool piece as far as creating some dioramas or, you know, kaiju photography and stuff. And I love the fact that there are actually railroad tracks that you can see through there. And that's something that I kept something out for. If we bring in the train that you got in the Pulgasari set, you could definitely put the trains in there and display the trains running along those tracks on the bridge. And look, it fits perfectly. Very clearly, Titanic Creations knew what they were doing when it comes to the way that they created this set, and again, the way that you can basically combine this with the Pulgasari set. That is awesome. Definitely a really cool touch. And then, of course, we also have these sections here of the bridge, which are also very nicely detailed. They have that kind of genuine sort of block look and everything throughout, and overall look very nice. They're only basically one color, like a tan, but they work nicely. And then, of course, you can put the bridge together, and there you go. Now the bridge is assembled, and of course your Yongary can come through and just obliterate the bridge if it chooses to, and of course continue to wreak havoc throughout Korea. Absolutely incredible. Now that I've fully gone over everything in this set, I think I'm somehow even more impressed by how much is included and just how incredibly high quality this release is. As far as a size for Yongary, you are looking at a little bit over 6 3/4 inches, or just a hair under 17.5 centimeters. And then for a length, I think you could maybe push the tail out a little bit further. But in the position it's currently in, you're looking at about 11.5 inches roughly, or a little bit over 29 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect Day human being next to our Yongary, and we can see he's very impressive in size, basically able to stare Mr. Papo T-Rex there right in the eyes if you wanted to, but obviously showing you that, again, as far as the overall size of this figure goes, it's absolutely impressive. And then when it comes to some previously released kaiju figures, we have a NECA King of the Monsters Godzilla here, which we can see is actually pretty close to the size of Yongary. Same deal, but with a Playmates Godzilla, which is a little bit shorter than Yongary. We've also got the 1972 SH Monster Arts Godzilla next to our 1967 Yongary, so only a 5-year difference between these two kaiju, as far as, of course, their films go anyway. But you can see they are also pretty similar in size, with Yongary winning by just a little bit when it comes to the height. There is also the Bandai Titanosaurus, which is a little bit smaller than Yongary, but that's only because of that big fin on the top of his head. If he weren't, all finned up there, he'd be pretty much the same size. And then we've also got the Hiya Toys King of the Monsters Godzilla, which we can see is like a hair, maybe. Actually, I was going to say maybe a hair taller, but once I really get kind of like eye level with them, I would say that they are pretty much the same size. And I absolutely had to bring in the recently released Pulgasari from Titanic Creations as well, next to the Yongary. I've been really waiting to see these two next to each other, even though, it's not a battle that we've ever seen before, but it's still two of their most recent releases and two of their coolest figures overall. And I can absolutely tell you with confidence, these two sets are by far two of, if not the greatest kaiju sets that I have ever acquired. Like, if you are sleeping on Titanic Creations, please stop. If you are a kaiju fan and you have not placed an order for any of their products yet, you absolutely need to. I feel like you'll be so impressed, it's actually ridiculous, because there's just so much that you get, so much bang for your buck. And obviously, as we've already seen, the sets are kind of like interchangeable, where you can basically combine them to create even bigger dioramas and stuff. And don't forget that there is a really cool city pack coming from Titanic Creations at some point soon as well. So this brand new Titanic Creations Yongary figure is epic on so many levels. They knocked this so far out of the park, we can't even see it anymore. The sculpt on Yongary is gorgeous, just as I expected it to be. Considering it is a Dope Pope sculpt, it's always going to be gorgeous. There's no question about that. But the fine detail on the figure is so unreasonably crisp, as it always is. Titanic Creations' actual quality of their products is so next level impressive. Words honestly don't even describe how nice these figures are until you really have an opportunity, I think, to hold one in your hands and just get a good feel for it. But Yongary looks great from head to tail. It also is really nicely painted. I remember when I painted a Yongary figure, actually the Dope Pope Yongary, when it comes to the resin version, I had painted one a while back, and I had such a hard time really deciphering what color Yongary is, because it's kind of confusing in the movie. Sometimes he looks green, sometimes he looks gray. I went for a gray with mine, so I'm actually really happy that the version here from Titanic Creations is green, because, again, now I have basically both versions of Yongary. But overall, it is a really nice paint job, nice smooth transitions, nice natural application of the paint, and there is zero sloppiness on this, which is also a great thing. The figure is also extremely impressive in the articulation department, sporting every ounce of articulation you could possibly want when it comes to a figure like this, allowing you to pose it basically however you would like. And when it comes to the extras, man, there are so many included here. It's so crazy just how much stuff you have. Again, all of the different tanks and jets and the helicopter. You've also got the oil tanks, which are super cool, and the fact that you can, pull the tops off makes them even more playable. And then you've got the little area of road to attach the jets and everything to. And then, of course, the Sungnaemin, which again is incredible. The Sungnaemin gate looks so awesome in this set. It is Like I said, so impressive to me how much they put into that when it comes to not just the sculpt, but the actual paint applications, making sure that looks so nice, especially when it comes to your display or dioramas and stuff that you could create with it. And you also have a destructible bridge, which makes the playability of the set even better. And you also have the ability to put the alternate horn on the, nose, the snout, so that you can create that kind of laser beam or the atomic breath that comes from Yongary. Again, anything that you could possibly think of that you would want to include in a Yongary set is included in this set. So if you are interested in picking this up, and I highly recommend doing so, I will include a link in the description to where you can do that from Titanic Creations. So make sure you head on over there, grab this while it still lasts. Again, you don't want to sit this one out for too long and then have it sell out and you can't get it anymore. So absolutely pick this up as soon as possible. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.